Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you guys the 2 loaves that I made for the week. For my family, I made this jalapeno cheddar loaf and a classic sourdough loaf. I use the same recipe to make both doughs, so I'm just going to show you guys making one. That way I don't repeat myself, but we're going to start off by putting 100 grams of active starter into our bowl. And then we're going to add 350 grams of room temperature filtered water. If you want to speed up the process, you can add warm water, but I am adding room temperature. And then I go ahead and mix this together until the starter is mixed up well with the water. And then once everything is well mixed, I go ahead and add 500 grams of bread flour. You can use all-purpose flour. I then add 10 grams of sea salt and I start mixing everything together. So I did this in 2 different bowls, the same recipe, so I can make 2 separate loaves. So I'm just going to show you guys the steps for one, like I mentioned earlier. So here I am just mixing the dough with this spatula. I like to mix it with a spatula because I don't like to get my hands full of dough, but you go ahead and mix it with your hands if you like, but I go ahead and mix the dough together and let it sit on the counter for an hour, and then I start my sets of stretch and folds. So here I am stretching the dough. I go around the bowl 4 times until I stretch every part of the dough, and then I let it rest for 30 minutes, and then I do a second set of stretch and folds. So I do this 3 to 4 times, and in this case, I did it 3 times. So this is the second stretch and fold, and then right now, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the last stretch and fold that I did. You can do the 4th one if you like. I just didn't have the time to do it. So this right here is the 3rd stretch and fold, and you can see the orange bowl next to this clear one. I have the other dough right next to it, so I'm doing both loaves at the same time. So after this, I let the dough bulk ferment on my counter for a few hours. It's been cold lately, so it usually takes about 8 to 12 hours. So here my dough is not sticky anymore. I think I could have gone longer with the bulk fermentation, but I didn't have any more time and I didn't want it to overproof. So I just shaped it and it came out fine. So I already did the classic loaf. I shaped it before this one, so I'm going to show you guys how I add my jalapeno and cheddar inclusions here. So I just stretch out the dough a little bit. I try not to overstretch the dough because when it gets too thin, then I notice that the inclusions rip the dough easier. So here I'm showing you guys, I already cut my cheddar cheese and the jalapenos. I use pickled jalapenos because I just like the flavor of them in my loaves. So I try to cut the cheddar cheese into very small squares because I've noticed that when the cheese is too big, it creates really big pockets of air, I guess, into the dough because the cheese just melts and the dough doesn't rise as properly or as big or, just as much. So I try to cut the cheddar cheese into like small pieces. So the smaller, the better. Some people like to shred the cheese, but I haven't tried that yet. So let me know if you guys like to shred the cheese instead. I like to put the little chunks of cheese because I like to eat the little chunks of cheese when I make sandwiches and stuff like that. But like I said, I've never tried it shredded, so let me know if you guys like your cheddar cheese shredded. So I go ahead and put the inclusions on my dough and I start to roll my dough like a cinnamon roll, adding inclusions in each layer, I guess, in each roll. So here you guys are going to see how I am putting the cheese and the jalapeno bits on the dough, and then I'm going to roll the dough again. So I roll the dough like 3 or 4 times, I think, maybe. And I feel like the inclusions are distributed better. And I've also tried putting the inclusions like the jalapeno and cheddar while I do my stretch and folds, but I don't know, I feel like my dough is just, it gets too wet and I can't manage it as easily. So that's why I like to add them here. So if your preferred method is to add your inclusions during the stretch and folds, go ahead and do that. I just prefer to do it this way. So once I'm done adding all my inclusions and I start to shape my dough, I try to not over shape it, I guess. So you're gonna see right here how I close the dough, and I try not to shape the dough too much because it rips easily, especially like the little like edges of the cheese and the moisture of the jalapenos. So I just try to shape it just right when it's like shaped. You'll see here how I created a little hole right towards the end because I got a little too excited. I always tell myself that I'm not going to, like, I'm gonna stop at some point, and then I just keep like shaping the dough because it's just one of my favorite parts of making sourdough. So right here you're gonna see how it's like shaping itself into like a ball, and right here I'm pointing at the cheese, how the dough is starting to get like thin, so I'm trying not to shape it too much. But then I saw this little corner right here and I was like, no, I need to shape this part. So I start to shape it again, and I think that's when the dough ripped a little bit. So I go ahead and put it into my banneton, and there you go, there's the little piece of jalapeno and cheese. But I just closed it up real quick before I popped it into the fridge, and I left my dough in the fridge overnight. I always try to cold proof a minimum of 8 hours because I feel like it gives me the best results for my dough and my loaves. So I put it in a Ziploc bag and I pop it in the fridge. And then once I'm ready to bake, I get this little bread sling. So here I'm going to show you guys, this is the classic loaf, the one that I didn't show you guys that I was shaping or anything because I didn't want to show it twice. But I do have a video where I show this recipe again, just making a classic sourdough loaf if you guys want to watch it. But here I just wanted to show you guys how I tried to make a cute Christmas score by scoring a ornament. I saw this picture on Pinterest and I was trying to recreate it, and it didn't come out perfect, but I thought it was cute. I'm gonna keep practicing. Maybe next time I'll use like a cup to make like the perfect round circle, and maybe use a little bit more rice flour so the score can like pop more. I'm gonna speed it up a little bit here for you guys so it doesn't like take too long to see how I score this loaf. So as I score this loaf, I'm preheating my oven with the Dutch oven in there at 450 degrees. I bake this loaf for 20 minutes with the lid on and 25 minutes with the lid off. And I think it came out super cute. It's not perfect, but I really like how it came out. My kids liked it. They thought it was cute. They thought it was kind of funny. And now I'm going to show you guys the jalapeno cheddar. So I am here going to try to make another Christmas score by scoring some Christmas trees. I don't think it came out as like obvious because there was a lot of cheese and jalapenos in the way and I couldn't really score it properly. So maybe I should have done this score on the classic loaf. But anyways, I still think it came out super nice, and you know, the bread was very delicious. So here I'm just going to show you guys quickly how I created that score if you guys want to recreate it. And I baked this loaf again at 450 degrees, 20 minutes with the lid on and 25 minutes with the lid off. I usually let all of my loaves cool down before I cut into them, at least for 1 to 2 hours. I try to aim for 2 hours, but sometimes I just need my bread sooner, so I cut into it after an hour. So I'm almost done here showing you guys how I just like make little slits to create the little leaves of the trees. And here is the end result. I think it came out so cute, and the jalapeno and cheddar was very well like distributed in between like the whole loaf. So here I'm just going to show you guys the crumb on the inside of both loaves. So this is the first one. This is the classic sourdough loaf that I'm going to show you guys. Please, if you guys have any recommendations for bread knives, let me know, because I think mine is giving out already. So I think it came out beautiful from the inside, and this recipe is so easy to follow. I always use this recipe. It's very beginner friendly, and that's what I need because I don't like complicated recipes. So this is the inside. You can see how much my bread rose, and it's so fluffy, so soft. And here is the jalapeno cheddar. This one is one of our family favorites. I try to do this loaf once a week at least because it's just so good. And here I show you guys the bottom of the bread. It's not burnt at all. It's nice and toasty. And here is the inside. I like that we get a little bit of jalapeno and cheddar in every bite, and it is so good. So please let me know if you guys try this recipe, and I will see you guys in my next video. Thank you guys for watching.